It's really a unique space, the B2B or business to business marketplace. And it's different than B2C, business to consumer. Business to business sales have longer sales life cycles, a lot more complications, many times a lot of more red tape that you have to get through. But that also means your communication and marketing really needs to be dialed in. And that's why I am so excited for our guest on this episode of Humanize Automation. I'm going to be talking with a B2B marketing consultant and expert, Pam Didner, and she is also the author of a book that you're going to want to know about, but I'm not going to spoil that right now. You'll have to tune into the episode to find out. Everyone, welcome to another episode of Humanize Automation. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Humanize Automation. I am your host, Dr. Jill Schiefelbein, and I'm so excited for this conversation today because with my background really ensconced in communication theory, business communication, and then having started and run a couple of businesses, a huge part of running any business is how do you communicate and get the word out about what you do? And marketing is a massive part of that. So I am so thrilled that Pam Didner is here today. She's a B2B marketing consultant, has tons of experience in this area, but I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to let her do that. So Pam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jill. And hi, everyone. Pam Didner here. I'm really a marketing consultant, but my specialty is on the B2B side of things, which is business to business sales and marketing. And I specialize in sales and marketing alignment. And that's what I do day in and day out is actually a marketer that's supporting sales and make sure that whatever we do on the marketing side also drive revenue impact.
And I think it's so interesting because, Pam, I don't know if you know this about me, but my dissertation work, my research focused on B2B sales in particular because there's a lack of research in B2B sales compared to B2C, business to consumer sales. And
Amazing.
I find it very fascinating that in so many organizations, you have marketing teams presenting this brilliantly designed, perfected collateral, and then you have sales teams who aren't able to use it, and vice versa, sales teams then putting things out and marketing teams who are frustrated because there's not a sync. Talk to us about how you got into this space.
So when I was on the B2B side and in the corporation I was in for about 20 years, I actually was on enterprise marketing. They call it enterprise marketing. That's because our salespeople call on the enterprise accounts, which is the big companies or the bigger mid-sized companies, if you will. And I was doing marketing campaigns, but everything I do, and I also do a lot of launches at that time. And everything I do needs to very much align with the sales team because when you do any kind of product launches on the enterprise, on the B2B side, you also want to make sure that the product is launched, that the salespeople can also call on their prospects and accounts right away. Right? Because product is available and yay, we want to make sure that our customers are either upgrade for the newer products or we are reaching out for newer customers. So anything I do needs to somehow align with sales. So that's where I gain majority of my experiences. But I do agree with you in a lot of companies, even what I see is the marketing and sales are not fully aligned. And you hit the chord, Jill, that the collaterals using on sales side or the content that's uploaded into the website or for the marketing campaigns, they are not necessarily the same. That I 100% agree with you. And it took me a while to understand, by the way. So initially when I was a marketing manager, I was like, okay, we have a content. Salespeople, you should be able to use them, right? So you throw that off the wall to the sales side and sales like, you know what, I don't know how to use it. It's not related to my job. And that's how I talk. That's not how I talk to my customers. So over time, what I did is when I select the content for sales engagements that the salespeople need to use, I will actually look at the sales stages, from the prospecting down to the demo, down to deal closure. The different stages require different content pieces, and then not like the marketing content can immediately drop into it. So you have to modify it. So great question, Jill. Great question.
I think it's really interesting because when you're looking at any type of organization, right? And this is not only on sales and marketing, but that's pertinent to the discussion today. So we'll stick with that. When you look at it, you often have departments that are operating in silos in some way, and they're not communicating to each other. So it's a big challenge when you're looking in business to business sales. You're trying to get these enterprise accounts, or you're trying to, you're a travel advisor and you're trying to sell a certain hotel or resort's experience to your traveler. There is some brand language that's important to convey, and then there's some of your own brand language that you need to convey, and they have to be merged together. But typically, and this is like how they're traditionally trained. It doesn't mean they can't do both, but typically marketers are trained in one way and salespeople are trained in another. And it takes a liaison, if you will, between the both of them, who also understands operations. And you hit the nail on the head with what is their sales life cycle? What is the customer experience that weaves it all together? So you can then target the messages more strategically to each stage of that process.
Yeah. So Jill, you hit the point in that I want to, translate what you just said, from a slightly different angle. You are totally right. The marketing tend to focus on, certain kind of marketing outreach, and the sales use the different languages. I actually prefer to look at from sales or purchase funnels perspective. Marketing tends to focus on the top of the funnel, which is the brand awareness and make sure that people are aware who we are. And then the salespeople tend to focus on the people are seriously considering our products or to the point that they are ready to buy. So because they focus on almost two different stages of a customer journeys, then the communication is a little bit different. It's one especially a lot of time marketing the marketing folks are criticized by salespeople and say, there's no strong call to action to your marketing collaterals or your marketing campaigns. That's because they more focus on, hey, let's talk about us. Are you aware of this product? I just want to make sure you're aware of this product first, right? We are not necessarily like actively selling to them. And so that's the difference, that the marketers needs to be aware that there are differences between the sales and marketing side, like you indicated, and be very cognizant about it. So when you are supporting sales, you will look at things from different perspective because they are talking to their customer at different stages.
They are. And what's also interesting, so let's reel this back to the smaller businesses, right? That may not have a sales and marketing department. You're a small business. You're trying to do it all. A lot of the times you're trying to think, well, how can I make this marketing copy do everything? Or how can I make this sales call do everything? And what I find what I find as a consumer, but then also what I find in doing what I do in consulting is people are trying to make a single message do way too much.
I do agree with you. So I can relate to that because I'm independent consultant. So even though I work in a big corporation for 20 some years and I supported enterprise accounts, but when I started working for myself, I'm like, my own team, right? So I have to do the sales side of it. And I also have to do a marketing side of it. I actually prefer to do marketing side so much better than the sales side. I'm not a very good salesperson. I was like, if you don't want to buy, okay, that's fine. I'll talk to you later. So, but I do agree with you, like maybe one message is working too hard. I always tell small business owners that your product so well. And you also know your customers so well. So instead of talking about your own messagings, you can flip it. You should talk about their challenges, your customers' challenges. Hey, you have this problem. Let me tell you, I completely understand that challenges you have. By the way, I don't not just understand. I can also tell you because you have those problems, it creates those issues. Because of these issues, let me tell you how you can fix it. Then you can talk about your problem. So if you can if you can talk about it from the problem of the customer challenges and aspirations, you kind of broaden your messaging a little bit. So you are not just keep talking about, oh, this product is reliable. This product is reliable. This product is reliable. You should try it. You can talk about, well, because you have this problem about your devices and it caused a massive problem that your services is not reliable. Therefore, this product of reliability can somehow fix it. Is that helpful? So I always tell SMBs, you look at it from the challenges perspective. That will help you to understand and have more topics to talk to convey the same message.
And what's really interesting about it, right, is sometimes when I am talking to people, or even when I am like trying to see how am I going to, well, let me rewind a second. Let me gather my thoughts back, Pam. Number one, because I wanted to say this right off the bat. Of course, you like marketing better. Marketing doesn't reject you. Marketing doesn't say no.
I agree.
Sales, sales can reject you. So it's safer.
I can never be a good salesperson. Never.
Well, it's funny because so many small business owners I know, they spend this godly amount of time on social media posting, not marketing, because marketing is paid activity, right? Just posting and thinking this is going to go in. And I'm like, you do this because it doesn't say no back. You have to go out and have conversations with people. You have to learn. You have to ask. You have to find out what their problems are, just as you said. And I think what's really interesting right now in the age that we're at, and really looking at ways to humanize conversations and experiences using technology. One of my favorite ways to use ChatGPT is if I am in a sales call or I am trying to prospect a particular organization, a particular role, whatever it is. I may know an industry, but I may not have all the insights. Nobody does. No one person does. So I will go to ChatGPT and say, I am, insert who I am, a business owner who does XYZ. I am trying to sell to this and put all the information I can, get their LinkedIn profile and link to the website. What are some of the, what are the top 10 most common problems that this role faces? And then it's not that I'm using those as a verbatim script, but I'll be like, hey, Pam, I noticed that as a B2B marketing consultant, one of the problems that you have running into your clients is that they may already have a marketing team and a sales team. How are you communicating your value as someone who can bridge those together? And now I know how to ask that question because I got these prompts. Now, of course, this is our world, so we know what questions to ask. But let's say you're trying to go into a new industry, you need to ask, because the more questions you ask that are intelligent, articulate, and related to what you said, Pam, to what their problems are or their pain points are, the more conversation you get back.
I agree with you. So I am so happy that you use ChatGPT kind of as a research tool. So that is one functionality or benefit of using ChatGPT is I have come to realize a lot of time people will go there and they ask it's ideation and the brainstorming. It's like you don't know that specific industry. And you have to think about ChatGPT is searching the whole internet to give you a hyper personalized answers. The things that it works very well from my perspective is you already have a pretty solid background about this specific topic. If you actually already, sales very well, even though you don't know specific industries or specific customers or company, but the sales, the feel of the sales very, very well. So when ChatGPT spells out the answer to you, you at least have a point of view. You can pick and choose what to ask because you were like, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. That is just a bunch of BS, right? The thing I want people to be very cautious about is if you don't have a point of view, you are not the expert on that field that you are asking AI, you need to be very, very careful because you're just going to take what they said as it is because you're going to see they are AI. They're supposed to be smart. But let me tell you something. AI is smart and dumb at the same time. So you have to understand what part of it they are like, oh, super smart and savvy. And what part of it they are telling you, you're like, that's not true, right? The only way to know that is you have expertise or you have a certain knowledge about that field. I'm always very wary, including me, myself, try to ask ChatGPT certain type of questions and I have no point of view and I cannot frame it in a way that this is really a best practice. This is really a hack. if this is really a trick, if this is the process I should follow, you should always have like question and the doubt in your mind, not blindly follow it. This is very, very important. Everyone, please, please.
It is. And it's also so important because you can never, I mean, in our age of information and misinformation, there is a lot of things out there that can sway opinion and sway perspective in different ways. And it's always about fact checking and clarification. And everybody, I kind of buried a lead here, and I did it intentionally because it did come up organically, and I'm very happy about that. But Pam, I want to go into you all. She is the author of the book, The Modern AI Marketer in the GPT era.
Yeah.
So she's actually, I mean, it was hinted back in her background right there if you're watching this on video instead of listening in your car or on your run, whatever you're doing.
I'm holding it. Like I said, if you're watching the video, you can see the book cover. If you're not, don't worry about it.
Yeah. But what's great is I love when you have people who have an expertise in something like, Pam, you do with marketing, B2B especially, and then you decide to focus that on AI, especially in GPT in this generative AI era. So what I would love to do a little bit, if you're okay with it, is dive into what are you finding is the most, like the top 3 or 4 pieces of information in that book that when people read it, they're coming back to you and saying, oh my gosh, this helped me so much.
So, okay, I wrote 2 little books. I call them little books. And like the one that's called The Modern AI Marketer in the GPT Era, it's only 100 pages. So really nobody actually have time or attention span to read like a 250 business books anymore. So for these 2 books, I literally get to the point. There's no setup. I go in there and talk about the things from my perspective as a B2B marketer should know. That's it. Nothing else. And of course, the AI is evolving on a regular basis. And I also made it very clear in my book and say, you know what? I just want to let you know this book was published in September 2024. There's a lot of things happening. You should double check, right? Don't take this book as, take this book as a grain of salt. So I talk about the history of it, and I also talk about 2 things. One is what kind of prompts you should use as a B2B marketer. So there's for this the Modern AI Marketer in the GPT Era book, there is tons of prompts that you can use and check it out. It's all initial prompts, right? So when you are writing prompts with ChatGPT, you can write tons of prompts after the initial prompts. So my book or my example is the initial prompts that you can write. If you are doing research, what is the prompt you should write? If you are doing segmentation, what's the prompt you can write? It's more like initial prompt. So that's one thing that you can get out of it. The other thing is I did touch on how can you scale AI as a B2B marketer within a company. You have to evaluate your workflow. The most important thing is you have to look at the workflow to determine what part of the workflow can be combined or merged or can be separated, or you identify in the workflows what can be done by AI. So I talk about that in detail. So the chapters you'll have to read seriously if you purchase this book is chapters 3, 4, and 5. Done. That's it.
It's real. Nobody reads. I shouldn't say nobody. It is very rare that someone is going to read a 250-page business or nonfiction book from start to finish. And the one that I have coming out here pretty soon, it's about 100 pages, and it's like, let's get to the point and let's make it quick.
Let's get to the point. It's almost get to a point. I even tell people, I would say, just go to, you can read a book nowadays, especially business book. It should be like, you should be able to jump around, right? Mm-hmm. So you look at the table of contents and you say, okay, I only want to know prompt. Then just go to prompt session. And I want to know Pam's point of view about the future of AI. Oh, then go to that session. I mean, you can literally jump around. This should be a tool book. Like the book, you should read it, or you can come here and reference on some of the prompts. That's about it. You know what I'm saying? I'm writing the books, not necessarily about the trends. It's more like, okay, what B2B marketer should know about AI at the current stage. That's it.
And I love that you put the disclaimer on it at the beginning. Like, this book was written so things may have
September,
changed.
right? So 2024. And then now, like, there are some, I usually will go back and revise it. And I did that. Like, for example, I revised a little bit in December. But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wait.
It changes. I mean, it changes every day at this point. But one of my favorite things that I have been playing with lately, in the past, I'd say about the past 2 months, and I think it's very useful for, people tuning into this episode are clearly interested in marketing, sales, B2B in some way, shape, or form, or just AI automation in general. So no matter which of those categories you fit in, this tip is going to work for you. But my favorite use lately, but especially it does pertain to marketing, is I train my own agents. So within ChatGPT, you can train your own agents, and I train them on my brand guidelines, on my writing style, on phrases I like to use, everything. And I constantly am updating my agent database, or its knowledge base, as it's called in
Yeah, so you
ChatGPT.
upload the files, right? There's multiple files you uploaded, and then you train them. Is that right? Or they have to read those files and before they can give you the prompts.
No. So you upload and train your agent, and you train each one on what task you want it to do. So if you only
Yeah,
wanted
that's
to make
what I'm
something,
saying. You can upload multiple files at once, right?
yeah, up to 20, depending
Yeah,
on your
yeah, yeah,
version of
yeah, yeah,
GPT
yeah,
that you
yeah.
have.
That's exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Sorry. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No problem. No. So up to 20 based on what you have, but you can constantly re-update and retrain. So if you're uploading a new file, for example, one of my 20 files is speech transcripts. So every time I give a speech, it's recorded. I take the transcript, I put it in there, and then I tell my agent to, hey, refresh your knowledge base based on this new uploaded file. But what I find fascinating about it from a marketing point of view and a brand point of view is a lot of brands think they know their brand voice, but that's from their own biased perspective. You really want to see what an unbiased, now listen, there's bias in every software programming that
Yes,
exists,
yeah,
but an
I was going
unbiased
to say
voice,
that.
you upload your stuff to GPT and ask it what your brand voice is and what is being compared or not.
So, Jill, I agree with you, but I have a slightly different perspective on that. Um, you are totally right. I know you kind of just rephrase it. Even AI has its own bias. And we have to understand, where does the AI get the information to formulate its point of view to share with you? They search the internet. Like, for example, if I ask AI, say, okay, what's a Pam Didner's voice? They are going to look at pamdinner.com. They are look into the interview that I did with you, right? Because they probably can crawl and read the transcript. So they are going to look at a bunch of stuff already. But it's a chicken and egg question, right? They are going to look at my website, and they are going to spill and regurgitate back to me and said, oh, your voice is this. But I created that voice on my website to start with. I'm using ChatGPT more or less to validate. I don't think they are giving my a fresher point of view. Does that make sense?
No, that's exactly what I was saying is it either validates what you want your brand to
It's a
be, or
validation. Yeah.
if it doesn't, if what it comes back with, and this has happened many times for people, it doesn't come back with the brand voice you thought you had.
You thought that. I agree. That I agree. Yeah. So for me, I guess I'm not saying I don't have that problem. I'm saying that when I do my website and or when, because I'm a marketer, and I'm very, very finicky about my messaging. So, and my value proposition, because to me that's the foundation of all marketing communications. So I always tell people I'm a B2B marketing consultant. I focus on sales and marketing alignment. And underneath the sales marketing alignment, there's a demand gen, there's sales enablement, there's a marketing and sales strategy planning, there's a collaboration. So there are specific topics associated with that. And I make sure all the content I created use those keywords related to those topics. So I started with Pam Didner, and then B2B marketing, and then sales and marketing alignment. Underneath that, I actually have a topics I want to talk about. And then underneath that, I have a keywords, because I'm so tight, from the top to bottom. When I did the validation with ChatGPT, who is my target audience? Who is PamDinner.com's target audience? Who is PamDinner.com's messaging? It turned out, because I made it so tight, and it come back exactly what I think it is. So, but I do agree with you that if you are all over the place in terms of your messaging, or if you are all over the place in terms of you are talking to, then the answer that come back to you is going to create a gap.
It does, and it's one perspective. I like to use it. You use it as a battle partner, an ideation generator. Hey, if I put out X, is it consistent with what I have done in the past? And it's not, as you've said earlier, and as I've said many times on the show, it's not the end all be all. It's a way to increase efficiencies. It's a way to look at your problem from a different perspective. I love having, if I was an X reading, Pam Didner's website, what would I believe? Right. And so you can even flip it around and do it from your audience's perspective. And again, does that mean that all people who come to her website are going to think of it that way? Of course it doesn't, but it gives you a perspective without you having to take someone else's time. And then you can validate that perspective with real humans later.
I do agree with you. And to expand that a little bit more, another thing I did, it's more, they call it a white, on the sales side, they use the word white space. It's you do a white space analysis. Basically, when you do a cross sales and upsales, if your customers are already using a bunch of your products, but they are not using this specific type of product, it's a white space that you can do a cross sales and upsell. And I do the same thing. I was like, okay, I've been creating those contents for sales and marketing alignment. I touch on those topics. I use those keywords, but tell me the white space, ChatGPT. Tell me what are the area that still have a gap that I am not addressing. So I found that kind of prompts and that type of ideation very helpful to identify uncharted area that I need to go after.
No, it's great. And I think it's, again, the questions that you don't have the answer to, or when you used to, from a marketing side, have to go out and create and find people for very expensive, timely, and costly focus groups. Now you can ask some questions and do some research beforehand that will make those focus groups, because there's still value in those, of course. You can make those even more valuable because you have better questions to ask the people in the room.
I do agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Again, it comes back that it helps you to do your preparation, but you have to spend time doing that first. And I also agree with you, focus group and also surveys, like anything that to understand your audience or address certain challenges, all those methods still matter. A lot of people will actually say, we don't need to do that. That's not true. Okay. AI cannot replace a lot of that. You still need a little bit of a human touch to it because AI is AI. Like I said, they are smart and dumb at the same time.
No, one of the phrases that I use all the time is we have human intelligence on one side, artificial intelligence on the other. Neither of them are perfect, but when you put them together, we have collective intelligence, and there is a lot of power in that.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. Well said.
So, Pam, as we start to wrap up the show, one of the things that I love to know from guests is, right now, in spring 2025 here, because of course this will be dated 6 months down the road, what is a tool or a process that you're using now from an AI perspective that you just find, holy moly, this is great. I wish I would have had this 10 years ago.
So, I know a lot. If you are listening to this podcast and you are in big enterprise, I know a lot of enterprises, they are very cognizant or they are worried in terms of employees using ChatGPT. And I'm still using ChatGPT extensively, but for my personal usage and also for my work. But I always do kind of check on several LLM. So I use Gemini as well. Sometimes I use Copilot. And so I use different tools and also Claude, just to see what kind of answers they get. And so the tools I use, I would say come down to content creation and also research. And there are other tools I use that I don't use it, but my video producers do use quite often. Is when I create a long form video, they actually use AI tool to do shorts, to cut the shorts. And what we have realized a lot of time, the shorts that AI pick, it not necessarily have the right beginning or the right ending. So you still have to go in there and edit it. So we use a lot of that just to repurposing content. I think that's the things I want to share with everybody is when you actually have a one piece of content that being created, such as long form content, you can think about it and using ChatGPT or even any other AI tools to repurpose those content. That would be how I use AI a lot.
I think it's so huge. I remember, so your example is making me smile because, gosh, back in 2016, 2 books ago of mine, back in 2016, I interviewed 28 different business owners, entrepreneurs, high-ranking people in organizations, what have you, to add context to the book. And so I used Zoom, again, back in 2016. Not many people knew about it then, so I was using Zoom, recording these, and I had to pay someone to go through 30 hours of content, looking at it and saying, please suggest 5 possible clips for me from each of these that are going to resonate from a marketing perspective. And now, as you said, AI may not get it perfect right away, but what it's doing, it's giving you places to automatically start. So then you validate yes or no.
Yeah, so we use Opus Clip a lot, but it's like I said, they were Opus Clips using AI will like give me like a 12 or 13 cuts, but you still have to go in there and read each one of them. And some of them you're like, what? You picked this? Oh my God, seriously? And it's a good starting point, just like you said. But I always feel that it's nice that we have a point of view when we do the interview. We kind of know which part of it, what question is most relevant, and what the answer that the interviewees provides. It's very a good, solid response. If you can remember that, you can always kind of take that clip yourself. But I hear you. Yeah, it is hard, especially doing repurposing contents and finding the right clip.
It is, oh my gosh, how much more efficient is it now than it used to be? Like, it's amazing.
But it also, it's from my perspective, I hear you, Jill. It's efficient and inefficient at the same time. Have you noticed we kind of rebalance the time we spend before, like people have to search in the clips? And then once they finish searching that, they build a clip because it's a whole lot easier. Now the clips being selected, we have to spend a lot of time kind of evaluate all those clips and see if it makes sense. So I have found, at least on my, extensiveness of using AI, in some cases, it's not necessarily saving time. It's just rebalancing the time of how you spend it. Is that helpful? In many cases, it does save time. I'm not in a disagreement with that. But on the video clipping part of it and choosing the right clips, I feel I end up spending equal amount of time.
Interesting.
Yeah, because before is you select it. Yeah, then you don't have to worry about it, but you still have to look at it and approve it. Right?
You do. For me, I pay my team 50% less than I used to for the same task.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I'm glad to hear. Yeah. That's very, very glad to hear.
It's interesting. So here's my process for everyone that wants to know it, which is you can put any of content up there using Opus is a cool tool. Riverside has AI clips built in. Cast
That's
Magic.
true too.
Cast Magic is another one. So instead of paying someone to, let's just say 30 minutes to go through the whole episode, I say, put this in, click generate the clips, find me 5 that are good, and make sure the timestamps are good. Then that's taking them now, instead of 30 plus minutes, it's taking them 10 to 15 to do that. I still have to look. It still doesn't take the task completely off my plate, but it's cutting down what I'm spending my assistant money
on. Your time. So what I have noticed, so just add additional thing is I do agree with you that having any AI tool to make that cut is like it's substantially less compared with the human part of it. What I have noticed when I try to say Opus Clips give me 13, I have to go through each one of them. Not only I have to go through each one of them, and I want to pick like 4 that makes sense instead of 13. So I have to be very rigorous making that selection. And also their beginning tend not to get it right. Then I have to tell my video editors in terms of what that beginning needs to change. well, instead of starts at the timestamp for minutes and 45 seconds, that's, push that forward to 4 minutes and 30 seconds. And then I want you to add, I want you to expand or delete the middle, how should I say it? The closing part. And then in the middle, sometimes I would say, cut this. Maybe I'm just finicky and picky and I spend more time of doing that. I probably shouldn't. That's why I said let the time end up balancing out. So if I was like, look at this, looks good, 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 good. Yes, you are right, saving a lot of time.
No, and it's all preferences, right? And that's
I think so too.
every person looking has their preferences, what they're willing to control and what they're willing to let go of control of.
I
And
totally agree. That's well said. That is well said.
you have to, thanks. You have to choose that, and I think everyone listening in today, we're going to wrap this episode up. I'm going to give Pam a chance to have one final thought she shares in just a minute. But what I really hope you're all taking away in listening to this is that when you are looking at any type of AI usage, and I'm going to apply this to all different areas, like one of the things Pam said is you have to understand the process. What is the journey? What is the life cycle? And that's not only a sales and marketing term, everybody. That is onboarding, it's leadership, it's a team engagement. There's a process for everything. So the more you can dissect those processes, the more useful you can find different tools because you're targeting specific parts of the process. And that specificity is going to allow you to get more clarity, which is going to allow you to get more accurate results. Again, not perfect, but accurate. And I really hope you all honed in and took that away. So Pam, any closing thought you want to share with everyone listening and or watching?
Great. And so if you have any specific question about sales and marketing, feel free to reach out anytime. And you can reach out to me on pamdidner.com. There's a contact form or even schedule a time slot with me. And you can also connect me with me. I'm sorry, if you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. And I always take a challenge, seriously, challenge accepted. Like anybody who asks me any sales and marketing questions, I always respond. Because I feel like if you have a specific question, I want to learn as much as you want to ask. And let's learn that together.
I love it. Well, Pam, thank you so much for being on the show. Audience, the amazing people who listen and hopefully learn and maybe even laugh a little during this show. Thank you so much once again for tuning into another episode of Humanize Automation. Of course, we'll be back again with another episode filled with insights on how you can use technology to create processes that make what you do more human.
Thank you so much. Bye, Jill. And bye, everyone.